Welcome to the Depth Dive. Today we're strapping in for a real plunge, actually. We're looking at sources about this world built around a lethal military academy, ancient dragons, and this hidden, absolutely existential conflict.
That's right. It's dragons and cadets, but it's also, secrets and war.
Yeah, we're tracking a war where the enemy isn't just outside the gates. Sometimes they're right there in the mess hall with you, wearing the uniform.
And that's the core tension, isn't it? I mean, the sources, they give us this really unfiltered, kind of brutal look at life at Bazugyev for these cadets. But almost immediately, they pull back the curtain on what's really going on.
Which is?
The desperate war against the Vinen and their dark magic. That's the overriding concern that shapes everything else.
Okay, so our mission today is to cut through maybe the immediate plot points and really pull out the strategic stuff, the thematic consequences.
Right. We need to look at how close Navarre is to, collapse. The timeline.
And the internal corruption, the military stuff that actually helped the enemy.
Exactly. And then there's this massive quest for defensive magic, which has huge strategic implications.
Okay, let's start with that clock then, because it feels less like some distant threat and more like imminent disaster.
Oh, it is. The fight against the Venin and their wyvern, it's happening now.
Yeah.
And the leadership. They have these wildly conflicting timelines, and frankly, they're terrifyingly short.
How short are we talking?
Well, Felix, he's one of the resistance leaders. He gives them maybe a year. A relatively generous assessment before the enemy's expansion just makes the war unwinnable.
A year is still not long.
No, but Brennan's calculation is even worse. He's looking at the recent rate of Vinen movement, their expansion, and he figures 6 months, maybe less.
6 months, wow. Before Navarre itself is directly targeted.
That's his assessment. And a 6-month deadline.
Yeah.
That fundamentally changes everything. Navarre's whole military mindset, this slow, bureaucratic machine, it just can't afford that pace anymore.
Okay, so if it's that close, doctrine has to change, immediately.
Yeah.
And the sources, they give us this key detail about the enemy, right? About the wyvern.
They do, and it should rewrite how Navarre fights. But, the establishment is stubborn,
So what's the detail?
Wyvern aren't born. They're not hatched like dragons. They're created. By Vinen channeling power.
Created. Okay.
And here's the strategic nugget.
Yeah.
If you kill the Dark Wielder, the Vinen controlling them, the power sources cut, the riderless wyvern just dies instantly.
So the focus shouldn't be on these big, scary creatures, but on the Vinen controlling them.
Precisely. Identify and eliminate the channeler. That's the tactical key.
And yet, while this threat is ramping up, along the Barrens, getting dangerously close to cities like Zolya, Bazugyev, the supposed safe haven, is kind of eating itself from the inside out.
Absolutely. It's revealed that the school's notorious brutality, it isn't just some old tradition. It's deliberate. It's conditioning, dehumanizing.
They actually say that, don't they? Something about the second year.
Yeah, one of the cadets notes, the second year is when the rest of us lose our humanity. It's about turning them into these unquestioning, effective weapons.
And this rot, it goes right to the top. Colonel Atos.
Ugh, Atos. He deliberately emptied the Akabine outpost, which was strategically vital, by the way, pretending it was for war games.
A decision that got riders killed, including Liam.
Directly. It cost lives. It was pure treachery, facilitating the enemy's advance under the guise of training.
Which just highlights this terrifying idea that the threat inside might be worse than the one outside. And then you've got Vice Commandant Varish.
Varish is something else. He sees riders purely as assets. Their signets, their dragons, that's all that matters.
He targeted the protagonist, right? Using her signet training as punishment.
He did. Forced her to channel her lightning signet, which is incredibly dangerous, as a disciplinary measure. Just because her dragon Endarna wasn't there. For Varish, riders are just the sum of their powers. Maximize output, never mind the cost, never mind the rules.
Which brings us neatly to Dane Atos. The Dane paradox, as you called it. He sort of embodies this whole institutional rot.
He really does. Dane's signet lets him read memories by touch. And he used that to steal the information about Akabine from the protagonist. He started the betrayal.
But he wasn't entirely lost to the system.
No, and that's what's fascinating. He was the ultimate loyal soldier, believed in the system. But seeing Varish's sheer cruelty during the interrogation of the protagonist, seeing the depth of the deception, it broke him.
So he turns on Varish.
Yeah, he stabs him, his superior officer, to save his friend. It wasn't just personal. It showed that even that deep-seated institutional loyalty has a breaking point when faced with Well, unforgivable cruelty and the massive lies the kingdom is built on.
Okay, so Dane's personal reckoning there shifts our focus. We move to the resistance, the Ereshkigal resistance, been operating in secret for years.
6 years, led by Brennan, the protagonist's brother, who everyone thought was dead.
Right, and this is where the strategy gets really complicated.
Yeah, because Brennan and the Assembly, they're focused on finding the Luminary. This device they need to forge special alloy weapons, the only things that can reliably kill Venin.
But there's a moral problem.
A huge one. They could steal Navarre's main forging device. That would protect Ereshkigal. But if they do that, and Navarre's main wards fall later, countless civilians are left completely exposed.
So protecting Ereshkigal might doom thousands elsewhere.
Exactly. So their goal shifts. It's not just about arming themselves, it's about ensuring protection for everyone, even the people living under the corrupt regime they're fighting against.
And this whole situation, finding Brennan alive, understanding the resistance, it forces the protagonist to face a really hard truth about her mother, General Sorengale.
Oh yeah, General Sorengale is. She's the embodiment of Navarre's big lie, the 600-year deception. She is so fiercely loyal to the official story, no Venin, everything's fine, that she'd let her own children die rather than admit the truth.
Her loyalty is to the state's narrative, above even her family.
Terrifyingly rigid loyalty. The stability of the lie matters more than actual lives.
Which basically drives the whole quest for new wards, right? If the leadership won't face facts, the defenses have to be upgraded. And the current wards are stretched thin.
Maxed out. They can't extend them further. So the only hope is finding the lost knowledge of how to create new wards, which means diving into the archives.
And the protagonist uses her scribe friend, Jacenia, for that, accessing forbidden texts.
Right, specifically Warwick of Lucerus's journal. And the initial translation, it suggested this really bloody ritual needed the blood of 6 powerful writers, something about iron rain.
But that wasn't quite right.
No, the correction is the real game changer, the accurate translation. It wasn't about 6 writers' blood. It was about the breath of life of the 7 combined with the iron flame.
7? What's 7?
The 7 dragon breeds. It requires all of them working together, including Andarna, the Feathertail. The small, supposedly weaker dragon breed is actually essential.
So defense isn't just about raw power, it's about unity, all the different types working together.
It's exactly. Unified, comprehensive action. That's the strategic key.
Okay, so they have this knowledge, they try to raise the wards, and it immediately goes wrong at Basquiat.
Horribly wrong. Jack Barlow, revealed to be working with the Venin, shatters the Basquiat wardstone during the attempt.
So the Venin have spies, deep cover agents right inside Basquiat.
High-placed integrated assets. It proves the infiltration is serious. But even with that failure, the resistance does succeed in raising the wards over Ereshkigal. Just in time, too. A massive enemy attack hits right after.
Safety bought with blood and sacrifice, again.
Always. Which leads us right into the personal costs, the trust issues, especially Zazgan.
Yeah, the protagonist is constantly struggling with his secrets, how much he holds back.
And it's not just relationship drama, right? Because of the mating bond between their dragons, Tairn and Scale, his life is literally tied to hers.
Right, if he dies, she dies.
So his secrets put her directly at risk. And his knowledge, his power, they're essential for the rebellion. Her frustration, that line, how can I want someone who refuses to tell me his whole truth? It sums up the emotional friction, but the stakes are life and death for potentially thousands.
He does eventually confess why he made a deal with her mother.
Right.
To spare his life in exchange for protecting the protagonist.
He does. It was a political necessity, forced on him. But then he drops that other line, the really chilling one.
Which one?
I will happily watch Ereshkigal burn to the fucking ground again if it means you live.
Oh, okay. So his loyalty is ultimately to her above the cause, above Ereshkigal.
It confirms his priority is her immediate survival. Yeah. Even over the revolution he's supposedly leading. It's intense and terrifying in a way.
But the biggest reveal about Dazen, the secret that explains almost everything, it's his hidden power.
Ah, yes. The game changer.
This reframes every single interaction they've had, doesn't it? Every evasion, every secret.
Completely. Zazen is revealed to be an intrinsic.
A mind reader.
Yeah.
And influencer.
Exactly. A power that isn't just rare in Navarre, it's a death sentence. Instantly. Because it destroys all possibility of trust.
So he kept it hidden just to survive.
To survive, which, because of their bond, also protected her. He couldn't risk exposure.
Which means He knew. He knew she was researching the wards. He knew about Dane's change of heart during the interrogation.
He knew it all. He was likely reading minds constantly, managing this incredibly complex battlefield of information. His secrecy wasn't just him being difficult. It was literally life or death, and strategically necessary to stay ahead.
But for her, realizing that, how do you trust someone who can literally be inside your head, even if he says he's trying for a, quote, real relationship with real discussions?
That's the crisis, isn't it? It forces her to grapple with the nature of trust when faced with that kind of power. Can intimacy exist alongside that capability for manipulation, even if it's not used maliciously?
And it also ties into what Felix, their mentor figure, points out later, that power isn't just about Signet, it's about magic.
Right. Felix notes that her existence, her choices, deciding to reveal the truth, protecting her family, challenging the regime, those actions are power. She's become a weapon against a system built on lies just by choosing differently.
So she has to redefine power for herself. It's not just dragon magic anymore. It's political. It's moral.
Exactly. Her choices are now maybe her biggest strategic asset in a world where the official military structure has fundamentally failed.
Okay, so wrapping this up, what this deep dive really shows us is the war is here. It's now. The military is compromised from within. And the only path to defense seems to involve this unity of 7 dragons betraying the state and confronting some incredibly painful personal secrets.
Yeah, the core conflict, when you boil it down, was always internal. It was trust versus necessity, strategy versus secrets, and the secrets that caused the most damage. They were the personal ones.
Like Xaden being an intensic, Brennan being alive, the general's loyalty to the lie.
Exactly. Dealing with those secrets often had heavier consequences for the characters than fighting the actual villain. The path forward required this sort of radical honesty, coupled with immense sacrifice.
So here's a final thought for you to mull over. The wards went up over Eratia, a victory paid for in blood. But the protagonist's final act, channeling power into that ward stone, it required her to empty herself completely, physically, magically. Given that this kind of continent-saving power demands such a massive individual cost, what's the long-term price for the people who wield it, and maybe even more critical for the world itself? How are the ordinary citizens of Navarre going to react when the truth finally comes out, when the general's lies are exposed and the reality of the Venan threat becomes undeniable, probably violently? What happens then?